Well, so I was born and raised in Midland, Texas. So it ended up in oil and gas because that's just what you do. I was working with my dad. My dad owned service companies when I was a kid. So I ended up out of high school working for him, and then I went to college for a little bit. Didn't graduate, mainly just because it wasn't that I couldn't. I didn't like it, and it was kind of one of those things where I was like, I'll go back someday, and then I haven't. So I was working for my dad's company, and I was running a department for him that would go into refineries and gas plants and different things, and we would walk out the schematics that existed. We'd redline those, then we'd come back in and we would get on AutoCAD and draft, and I was running that whole group. And then, as many small service companies, my dad was like, can you also handle and make sure all of our safety's done? Now, this was like the mid-'90s, early 2000s. So safety then was really literally like, here's this video, watch this video, here's this test, and here's the answers to the test, and here's your card, now let's go to work. It wasn't it wasn't nearly what it is today in terms of just understanding that it's culturally driven more than just a very tactical exercise. So from there, I had a buddy that was going into business, and he was starting a safety company that was going to service a series of sister companies. So there was a main company that had several subsidiaries under it. They were going to spin up another subsidiary that was a safety company, and they were going to do all the safety for all these subsidiaries and then also go out and find external work. And he hired me because he was like, you're good at sales. So he wanted me to go out and find the external work. And then, oh, by the way, you're also going to be director of training. And so from there, I started building out programs and really learning about like how to educate adults, because that's a very different skill set than educating children. And not that I've ever educated children, but trust me, it is. And so by building those programs out, I began to learn regulation and learn, really kind of how to approach regulation in terms of making it palatable for Jim out there handling a grinder that has been doing that longer than I've been alive, and get him to listen to what I was saying. So was there for a while. I had a company kind of take a chance on me, honestly, hire me as their director of safety, Reliant Holdings in Odessa, Texas. Their oil field side is Flow CO2, so it's a carbon dioxide company. Went to work there for several years, and then was hired by Neighbors Well Services, which was previously Pool Company, which is where I first went to work for Aaron Marquez, who is the founder of Wildcat and other things, Flecha Azul and Free Reign Coffee and all these other amazing brands. But that's where I first met Aaron. Aaron was my boss. He hired me to do a very specialized role in safety, which was to form a rescue plan, a high-angle rescue plan for derrick workers that had fallen and were suspended below the tubing board, 80 to 100 feet in the air. And so how are you going to train the guys on the rig to go up there with specialized equipment? And so Neighbors invested a tremendous amount of money and resources into me. I was the first one in North America, and it was kind of a pilot program, and we built that out and took that nationwide. And I trained, I want to say a little less than almost 2,000 people in that course. And then we developed another course, a well control course at Neighbors. And so me and a guy named Jim Kulis, who's now the vice president of safety for Ranger, we developed this course together that ended up getting API accreditation, and that was kind of cool. And so it just kind of built on itself, just every time I made a change, it was advancing further and further up the ladder in this vertical HSE, and left there. We've got some, I would call it international experience if I was looking for a job, but it was working for a company that's out of Canada. But learning they have different rules up there and how to kind of get the two to work together. And came back, went to work for Octane, and then that moved me to Fort Worth. Stepped out of oil and gas for a little bit and worked in the tech sector for a little bit in a true business development role, a B2B role, which ultimately served me really well in terms of understanding that side of business, because everything's so technical now, and from a technology standpoint, things are going that direction, and understanding how the back end of that stuff works is really been helpful for me professionally now that I'm back in oil and gas. and then came to Wildcat back in 2018. Moved back from the Fort Worth area to the Houston area, and here we are, man.